Hey everybody, this is Sophia Nelson. How are you? Hey, it's Friday. That means the weekend is here, and so we're always happy to see the weekend. Now look, I promised, and I always keep my word, that I would do a YouTube talk here about the things that we as black women do that don't help us, that aren't good for our relationships with our men, our families, our communities, etc. And I'm going to have that talk today, but I'm going to have it in a context, okay? So one, I wanted to just make sure that I honor my word on that, but I need to deal with a couple housekeeping things before I get into it. I'm going to entitle this conversation Sisters Heal. Sisters Heal. And it's based on my award-winning Essence series from 2012 to 2013. And you can Google it, actually. Google Sisters Heal, Essence Magazine, or Sisters Heal Sophia Nelson, and you can read all about it. Also, if you haven't picked up a copy of my book, Black Woman Redefined, Dispelling Myths and Discovering Fulfillment in the Age of Michelle Obama, which came out in 2011, I highly recommend you do that. Why am I bringing these things up to you? Because I want you to know that I'm actually qualified to talk about what I'm going to talk about. That I've actually got credentials in this area, that I actually have made this my life's work as an African American woman. This isn't a topic that I am on YouTube yapping about. And while we're at that, let me address this. I'm not a YouTube personality. I don't have any desire to ever be one. I'm not interested in it. YouTube is a platform that I have used over the last decade to upload videos of me speaking at conferences, to when I was helping out Tracy Edmonds with her YouTube channel that she started back in 2012. It was a faith-based channel. I don't even remember the name of it now, but if you look at my YouTube videos, you'll see a consistent pattern. I'm positive, I'm inspirational, there are uploads from speeches, from corporate engagements, etc. I'm very consistent. I don't have paid subscribers on my YouTube channel. I don't want them. I don't make any money from YouTube. Don't need to. I have a life. I have a lot of businesses. I have a lot of things going on in the world. I have a national, global platform, whether it's on national TV, on the morning shows or the evening shows, or on faith-based channels like TBN or Daystar, etc. I have a truly global reach. I don't need YouTube, and I don't need to be on here to be seen or to make money. So let me make that clear. I also don't need to be on here to sell books. I've sold thousands and tens of thousands of books in my career and done it all without YouTube. So that's the first thing I wanted to clear up. Secondly, before I get into this Sisters Heal conversation, because I think it's important, I do not think that we can just talk about black male anger and black male misogyny and the wicked, evil things that some black men have done on YouTube. And I want to underscore some black men, not all men, not most men. There is a little network, a little fraternity of what I call black angry men here on YouTube who've been doing this for a decade. And we're going to talk about that in a moment, because I want to update you on what we're doing about that, because I'm methodical. I take my time. I'm not going to do something that shoots from the hip. Just like when I dealt with this issue of these videos that were taking my copyrighted images, my voice, and everything else, I handled them publicly first by addressing it in a proper way. I've never cussed at anybody. I've never demeaned anybody. That's not my style. I'm not going to get into this back and forth with black men on YouTube, nor will I do it with black women on YouTube. It's just not who I am. It's not who I want to be. It's not the way I live my life, and that served me very well. But before we get into the Sisters Heal thing, let me say something, because I want to be clear about something that's come to my attention, and then I'm going to work my way into this Sisters Heal conversation and the things we do to damage each other, to damage ourselves, to get in our own way, and to be destructive. And again, I want to encourage you to Google me, to look at my writings in this area over the last decade or more. I started a group back in early 2000, the late 90s, called I Am My Sister's Keeper. You've probably heard about it. It was a very famous group. It was large. We had thousands of members across the country. And it was very successful for a number of years. And I'll tell you why I disbanded that group ultimately as I worked my way through the Sisters Heal. But again, I'm giving you my credentials so you know that this isn't just something that I woke up thinking about. I'm not somebody who wants to be YouTube famous or do something else. Don't need to. Been there, done that. So let me clear up something, though, that I think is very important. And then I'm going to work my way into this, this Sisters Heal conversation. Number one, I want you guys to know that I continue to be and will always be a fan of Crystal and Karazin's. I love what she's done with Beyond Black and White. I love the fact that she's told black women that there is another option for you and that you should date out of the race, that you can be loved too. You can find men who will love you and care about you. I applaud that. I've loved her since the day I met her with No Wedding, No Wound. I'm going to continue to be a supporter of hers and a fan of hers in whatever way I can. But I do want to make clear that this organization that some of you have seen on Facebook and here on YouTube and the GoFundMe account that was associated with it has absolutely nothing to do with Sophia A. Nelson, Esquire. I had nothing to do with the GoFundMe started by Asia Simone, and I think Crystalline's involved in that as well. I applaud whatever it is that they want to do with their efforts, but that has nothing to do with me. I haven't taken any money, don't want any money, don't need any money. As many of you know, you've come onto my channel in the various conversations we've had about these men that have been attacking and assaulting and threatening and harassing, and you've offered to give me money. I've told you then, and I'll tell you now, don't want it, don't need it. Feel free to give your money where you want, but make sure that the people who are taking your money are accountable for that, that they're using it wisely, that they're abiding by the law, that they have the proper infrastructure set up, that they are actually a 501c3 designated organization so that you can get a tax write-off for your dollars. Otherwise, there's no accountability. And it takes time to set up a 501c3 that has to be approved by the IRS. It's a several month, if not half a year process to be done properly. I know this as an attorney, but I wanted to address that because I watched an exchange on Facebook a few weeks back that took place between two African-American women, and it was very disturbing to me. And I'm not going to call names because it isn't for me to do that. They know who they are. They know what they were doing. But it feeds into what I want to talk about in this Sisters Heal conversation that we're going to have today, and I hope that you will share and learn from and think about and pray about, because I think it's time for we as black women to take a long, hard look at ourselves. It's easy to look at the brothers, and the brothers need help. There is clearly a mental issue going on with black men right now, anger that's uncontrollable, depression, suicide, murder, the inflicting of harm and murder and mayhem on other people who've done no harm to them. And I think a lot of this has to do, frankly, folks, with the vestiges and the effects of racism and the effects of slavery and the effects of history that has done so much violence to us as a people that we are now violent people. And that's not an excuse. It's never an excuse, but it is a context. It's a construct that says that there's been this emotional violence done to us. We haven't even talked about the physical violence that many of our ancestors suffered and that goes on today in our inner cities, in the suburbs, in working class areas, in high earning areas. Abuse knows no race, no gender, no class. Anger knows no race, no gender, no class. Depression knows no race, no gender, no class. And we should talk about that. But today I want to focus on us as black women. And I also want to say back to this organization that has been started by some other African-American women. And again, we don't tear down other black women. We don't call them names. We don't try to intrude on what they're doing. Even when they're not doing something honorable or right, I'm a firm believer that karma catches up and what goes around comes around. So if you're doing something dishonorable, if you're trying to steal other people's stuff, if you're trying to make yourself famous at the expense of others, or you operate in a lack mentality, which so many of us as black people do. We operate from a place of lack, from a place of, if I can't have it, you can't have it, or why do you have it if I don't have it? And we end up self-destructing, and we can't work together because I gotta be the boss and you have to kiss my ring and I gotta be the queen bee, and if I'm not, then I'm not gonna let you be involved. And that's just petty, it's ghetto, it's never going to get you where you want to go. I promise you, it doesn't work in corporate, it doesn't work in the faith-based community, it doesn't work in the nonprofit community, it doesn't work in the fraternities and the sororities. We see it all the time. We see leaders who could be great leaders actually end up self-destructing because they simply don't know how to play well with others in the sandbox. And if you can't collaborate, sisters, and get rid of this competition mentality, you're done. And again, I want to underscore this SOS organization, Sisters Overcoming Stereotypes. Sophia Nelson actually came up with that phrase. I have a recording to prove it. My assistant Shani was on the line when we had a discussion, but that's okay. I don't mind if other people use it or do what they want to do. But know that I don't have anything to do with that entity that you're seeing on Facebook. I don't have anything to do with the GoFundMe or the finances, and I have nothing to do with whatever's going to go on in that organization. And I want to be clear, I wish everybody well, but that's not something that I'm a part of. I would never take GoFundMe money or request it for an organization that I hadn't set up yet, for infrastructure that wasn't built yet, for a 501c3 that was not designated yet. I don't agree with that type of process, so I'm not a part of it. And I feel it's important because I want to get to this Facebook exchange that I saw, which leads me into our topic today of sisters healing. I saw this exchange between one African-American woman who has a petition against Tommy Sotomayor here on YouTube and Google, and another African-American woman who equally is concerned about these issues. But apparently at some point these ladies must have worked together, or one was a part of the other's group. And I watched this Facebook exchange that was simply disappointing, where they literally went back and forth attacking each other. And it was pretty ugly. One was calling the other a liar and a thief and unstable. The other one was saying that it's not true and that she didn't take her intellectual property. But this went on for some time. I weighed in, Crystalline weighed in, other people weighed in and said, hey, ladies, take it offline. Don't talk to each other like this in the open. But it escalated and it got uglier and uglier. And the disappointment to me, and I backed off because once I asked you politely to show yourself to be the lady that you're supposed to be, and particularly if you're a woman of faith and a godly woman, and you won't do that, I'm going to start paying attention. And I'm going to get into this a little bit more about the emotional and mental health that I believe many of us in the Black community are not dealing with appropriately, that we're not taking seriously, and we should. But let me stay on course here. I watched this ugly dialogue between these two women, and the name calling and the backbiting, and then I watched Facebook posts after that, and the rage that continued. It's like it couldn't be cut off. And it reminded me of Audre Lorde's poem, Eye to Eye. And if you don't know that poem, it's in Black Woman Redefined, but look it up in Google. It's one of her most famous open letters to Black women about who we are and what we do. And that's where I want to start this dialogue today, which is that we as Black women are so put upon by everybody else. We're like these boiling pots. You ever boil eggs on the oven and on the stove? And you know how the water starts to boil and then the eggs start to bobble? Well, Audre says that we as Black women live on the surface like that every day of our lives. There's this anger, this palpable and, by the way, completely understandable anger, because we're women, but we're Black women. We're Black, but we're women. You get it? The burdens of both, but the benefits of neither, being a male or being a white person. And so we're this double minority. Everybody's always putting upon us. Everybody's always attacking us. Everybody's always wanting something from us. We're super strong. We're super independent, not because we choose to be, but because we've had to be. And that's historical because of the nature of how we came here in the belly of slave ships, and because of the very nature of how our relationships as Black men and Black women were utterly decimated and destroyed by not us, but by this American construct called slavery. And so that went on for 300 years, legalized. 3/5 of a person And think about it. If our men were treated as less than a person, we as women were treated even less than that. We didn't even have personhood over our own bodies. We couldn't defend ourselves against rape. We couldn't defend ourselves against abuse. We'd be raped at the hands of our white masters or their sons, or any man, by the way, who came to the plantation and decided that he wanted to have sex with us. There was no saying no. There was no, I'm on my cycle. There was no, I don't feel well. It was barbaric and animalistic. And after we got raped and assaulted by our white masters, then when we went back to our slave cabins, the anger of the black male, because he's been beat all day in the fields, he's been humiliated, he's been emasculated as a man, he can't protect his women, he can't protect his children. Now he's beating the hell out of us. And I want you to understand the context for Audre Lorde's poem, because it fits into this notion of sisters healing. And I've got to watch the clock because I have something I have to do. Like I said, I actually have a real job. I have a real life. YouTube is not how I make my money. It's not what I do. So I don't try to spend a lot of time here. But I want you to read that poem. And then I want to get into this sisters healing dialogue. Sisters, let me tell you something. One of the reasons that black men can get on YouTube and just demean us, harass us, stalk us, threaten to rape, murder, and kill us, and nobody cares, is because, and I heard, and I talked about this in my book, Black Woman Redefined, there was a black man in a major corporation who gave an interview, and it was very courageous. I really appreciated him for sharing what he's observed about black women in the workplace and what he's heard other white, say, men and women alike about how we as black women treat one another, and how it gives others license to demean, harass, threaten, talk to us any old way, because we talk to us any old way. We act crazy towards each other. We berate each other. We menace each other. If I think you took my man, instead of me dealing with that man with whom I have the commitment, what do? I'm going to come beat you down. I'm going to come cut your tires. I'm going to get 3 of my girls and act crazy. And by the way, this just isn't sisters in the city who do this. If I started to call the names of women who've had to call me because they've been picked up by the police, or they have been threatened with a lawsuit for bad behavior, for stalking, whatever. If I called some of those names, you wouldn't believe who some of these women are and what they've participated in, because they let their anger get the best of them. They let their emotions get the best of them. And it's as Audre Lorde said, we're always simmering pots as black women. And I want to encourage you, sisters, in this short video, because I can't get into this the way I'd like to get into it. Let me tell you what I'm going to do, and I've committed this to you before. I am absolutely working with some amazing sisters, some names and brands that you know who are credible, who are educated, who have it together, who don't get into the name calling and the foolishness, who have been doing this like me for decades, who we're going to offer you the right kind of courses, material, and things that you need. I've already been doing this, but we're going to step it up. We are going to put together an entity for black women. I'm working with the black sororities. I'm working with members of the Congressional Black Caucus. I'm working with the black fraternities. I'm working with the Coalition of 100 Black Men. I'm working with some prominent attorneys to make sure that we handle this YouTube Google issue the way we should. The problem isn't the black men who participate in this filth, this ungodliness, this anger, this attacking, this menacing, and this harassing. We know they are a problem. They clearly have something wrong with them. But the problem is the entity and the corporation that allows them to continue this kind of behavior and do this kind of thing unfettered and unchecked. That's who has to be held accountable, and we're in the process of doing that. Again, these things take time. We don't want to tip our hands to the brothers who are on here who engage in this type of conduct. You never let your enemy know what you're doing. You never let them know how you're coming for them or how you're going to respond to them. On the safety front, we're going to continue to share with you information about how to keep yourself safe, how to protect yourself in the age of social media. I'm working with a number of organizations and groups that have products, that have offerings and solutions to help you protect your person, your kids, your home, your car, everything you need. And like I said, I welcome anybody who wants to work with me or us to do these things. It's not about making money for me. It's not about a GoFundMe account. I would never sell my soul for a GoFundMe account or stick my friends in the back, particularly my sister friends in the back, over some money. That is part of our problem. We think small. We don't think big. I was a part of a deal over the last few months that I can't talk about because, you know, lawyers got to keep these things confidential, but I can give you the broad strokes. And a black woman who was a part of this deal, by the way, very smart, very bright, someone that really stood to gain a lot from this deal. I watched her systematically and systemically shoot herself in the foot because she couldn't see the forest for the trees. She was so worried about the now, don't miss this, that she couldn't see the next of what God was about to do for her. She was focused on the $100 on the table that she wanted right now versus the literally 100,000 she could have made had she played her cards smart and stuck with the team of other women who were still working together, who were thriving and going to get a deal, but she was myopic. She was thinking about her immediate need, and trust and believe, I understand about immediate needs. We all have to pay bills, we all have mortgages, we all have kids to feed, support family members. If you don't have kids, elderly parents, all of us is dealing with something, sisters, all of us. But this stuff that we do where we can't get along, we can't see anything because we're petty, because I gotta run it. It's my stuff. You didn't kiss my ring. You didn't treat me with respect. I felt disrespected. Grow up and get over yourself. Are you 7 or are you 30? Are you 40 or are you 3? If you can't put on the big girl panties and understand that there are going to be conflicts and arguments and disagreements, and when you're working with other people, you're going to have to learn to get along, you're not going to make it in this life. And if you're not in control of your emotions enough, that you get on social media and act an ass and act a fool, and then out of the other side of your mouth say you actually want to help women and love women, don't you know people see you? Don't you know people know and they can see right through it? Because they can. It's all about what we show people by what we do. You know, I'm famous for saying know your front row, and I'm going to end with this. You must know your row. Who is around you? Who are you connected to? Who's your brand connected to? Are you connecting yourself with people who can help coach you, elevate you, lift you up, take you next level? Or are you staying stuck in your little myopic, petty, I'm happy right here, and anybody that comes around my little circle, I'm going to cut them off, or I'm going to block them, or I'm going to name call them? That is for children. That is not for grown women. That is not what grown women do. It is not what godly women do. It just isn't. So, I hope that you'll look up my Sisters Heal series. I hope that you'll take to heart at least some of what I've said, because it applies to me and to every woman. That's how I've learned, because I've grown, because I've had mentors, because I've been willing to be coached. I've had women speak into my life and teach me how to be a better woman and to be a more focused woman and to be a disciplined woman. You haven't seen me engage these nasty men on here in a nasty way. I never will do that. Not who I am, not who I want to be. I engage them with lawyers. I engage them with the law. I engage them with the FBI or the NCIS or the local authorities. I engage them in a way that I will get their attention and let them know I am not to be fooled with. And I would respectfully suggest to all of us on here who have signed petitions, who are on YouTube, who really want to see change, we're going to have to learn to come together. We may not always agree. We may not see it the same way. But if we can't find the basic respect for each other as black women, if we won't protect each other as black women, what the hell right do we have to ask our men, white women, white men, or anybody else to treat us better if we won't treat us better? And I'm going to leave that with you and let that just hang out there. I know who I am. I know the lives that I've helped to change. I know the platform that I have. I know the work that I've committed my life to for decades. I haven't made a dime. A dime. Black Woman Redefined has sold 50,000 plus almost 100,000 copies since it came out. And the royalty checks, they're pretty small. And do you know why? Because we give back. The publisher gives back, I give back. Because it's not about the money. It's about making an impact. It's about helping us to heal. It's about helping us to come together and respect each other. It's about helping us to see each other as human beings despite all the savagery that's been done to us through history and time immortal by others. Folks, this is the 21st century. Black people are the poorest people. We have the least amount of wealth of any group out there. Everybody's thriving but us. The Hispanics, the Asians, the Caucasians, everybody but us is married, families intact, working together, building businesses. Why is that? Ask yourself the hard question. Why is it? That is the question. Sisters, it's time to heal. Sisters, it's time to stop hurting each other, being angry with each other, going off on each other. I won't connect myself to people that do that. I'll disconnect. I'll disengage real quick. When I saw that exchange on Facebook and I looked at the players, I didn't know who to believe. But I gave everybody an equal chance for me to get to know them on my own. And once I began to interact with one of the individuals on that feed, I figured out real quickly who was right and who was wrong, and who was telling the truth and who wasn't. People show you who they are. You just have to believe them. They show you every time. Believe it. Check yourself. Try to better yourself. Try to be a better woman. If you say you love God, act like it. Act like God. Talk like God. Do what God does. Say, I'm sorry when I'm wrong. Apologize, sometimes even when you're not wrong. Brothers and sisters, I love all of us. I want us to heal. I want us to stop calling each other names and hating each other and berating each other and being unkind to each other. It has to start somewhere. Our babies, our nieces and nephews depend on us in this time to do better. Folks, I pray that this message touches you. I hope it helps you. God bless you and keep you. Have an amazing day on purpose. Sisters, it's time to heal.